Every time you take a bite of food in 2026, you are participating in a massive, unintended biological experiment. For the first time in the history of our species, the majority of what we consume isn't actually food, at least not in the traditional sense. It's an industrial formulation of food-like substance designed in a laboratory to bypass your body's natural defense system. We've been told for decades that weight gain and poor health are about calories or a lack of willpower. But the science of 2026 is telling a different story. It's not about the quantity of what you eat. It's about the matrix of the food itself. Today, we are going deeper than low carb or low fat. We are exploring the Nova scale, the system that finally explains why we are the most fed generation in history, yet the most malnourished. This is the truth about ultra-processed food. To understand how we got here, we have to look back at the last 6,000 years of human civilization. Since the dawn of agriculture in Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt, humans have processed food. Processing in its original form was a survival strategy. We used fire to make starches digestible. We used salt to preserve meat for the winter. We used fermentation to turn perishable milk into shelf-stable cheese and grain into bread. For 5,900 of those years, processing meant using mechanical and thermal methods, crushing, drying, boiling, or fermenting. The food stayed intact. The fiber was there. The cellular structure was recognizable to your gut. The radical shift happened in just the last 150 years. With the Industrial Revolution, we moved from processing to ultra-processing. We developed the technology to take a whole grain of corn and deconstruct it into its base components. Chemically isolated starch, refined oil, and high fructose corn syrup. We stopped eating the corn. We started eating the slurry. This deconstruction is the defining moment where food stopped being fuel and started being an industrial product. In 2026, the gold standard for understanding our diet is the Nova scale. It was developed by researchers at the University of Sao Paulo to categorize food based on how much it has been changed by industry. There are 4 distinct groups, and understanding the difference is the single most important health hack you will ever learn. Group 1 is unprocessed or minimally processed foods. These are the edible parts of plants and animals. Think of an apple, a bag of raw spinach, a carton of eggs, or a piece of fresh salmon. These have undergone zero or minimal changes. They are the original code for your DNA. Group 2 includes processed culinary ingredients. These are things like sea salt, butter, honey, and olive oil. You don't eat these alone. You use them to prepare Group 1 foods. Group 3 is processed foods. This is where things get interesting. These are simple products made by adding Group 2 ingredients to Group 1 foods. Think of freshly baked sourdough bread with just 3 ingredients, or a jar of chickpeas in water and salt. These are still what we would consider real food. Group 4 is the danger zone. Ultra-processed food. These are not just modified versions of real food. They are industrial formulations made mostly or entirely from substances derived from foods and additives. The ingredient list contains things you would never find in the kitchen, like soy protein isolate, maltodextrin, emulsifiers, or carbonated water with artificial flavor. These products are designed to be hyper palatable, convenient, and highly profitable. In North America, approximately 60% of our calories come from this one category. One of the most frequent arguments you'll hear is that a calorie is just a calorie. If you eat 2,000 calories of cookies or 2,000 calories of steak and broccoli, your weight should stay the same, right? In 2026, we know that is scientifically false. A landmark clinical trial conducted by Dr. Kevin Hall at the National Institute of Health changed everything. They took a group of people who lived with them in a controlled lab. For 2.5 weeks, the group ate an ultra-processed diet, and the other half ate an unprocessed diet. The trick? The meals were perfectly matched for total calories, sugar, fat, fiber, and carbohydrates. The results were shocking. Even though the stats on the back of the boxes were the same, the people on the ultra-processed diet instinctively ate 500 more calories per day than the whole food group. They didn't do it because they were greedy. They did it because the industrial matrix of the food bypassed their satiety hormones. Their brains never received the signal that they were full. In just 2 weeks, the ultra-processed group gained 2 pounds of body fat, while the whole food group lost weight. This is the glitch. When you eat group 4 foods, you are biologically programmed to overeat. Now, we have to talk about a major area of confusion: plant-based meat alternatives. In the media, these are often lumped together as fake food, but the reality is more nuanced. It is true that many vegan meat substitutes are classified as ultra-processed. They use isolates, gums, and heme to mimic the experience of animal protein. However, 2026 data shows us that not all ultra-processing is created equal. Research comparing industrial meat products like sausages or deli meats loaded with nitrates against plant-based alternatives has shown that the plant-based versions often result in lower levels of LDL cholesterol and reduced markers of heart disease risk. The key is how they are processed. A plant-based burger that uses pea protein and beet juice to provide fiber and heart-healthy fats can be a significantly cleaner industrial product than a low-quality processed meat stick filled with sodium nitrates and secondary animal fats. When we look at the Nova scale, we have to be honest. While whole plants are the gold standard, an ultra-processed plant alternative can often be the lesser of two evils when compared to the chemical preservation used in industrial meat. The goal is to move toward the whole, but don't let perfection be the enemy of a better choice. Beyond just weight gain, we have to look at what these foods do to your internal environment. When you consume industrial emulsifiers, the glues that keep your almond milk creamy or your bread soft, they act like detergent on your gut lining. This leads to increased intestinal permeability, often called leaky gut. This allows tiny particles of waste and bacteria to enter your bloodstream, triggering a state of chronic low-grade inflammation. In 2026, we measure this using a marker called hs-CRP, or high sensitivity C-reactive protein. If your diet is heavy in group 4 foods, your hs-CRP is likely elevated, putting your immune system on a constant state of high alert. This is why you feel that brain fog or mid-afternoon crash. It's not just getting older, it's a biological reaction to a chemical diet. Now, we've talked about the history and the science, but now we need to talk about survival. In 2026, we can't simply opt out of the modern food system. Most of us live in cities like Chicago, or LA, or Toronto, or Mexico City, where convenience is woven into our lifestyle. The goal isn't to be a hermit. The goal is to be a strategic consumer. The first solution is a shift in mindset. We need to stop looking at the marketing on the front of the box and start looking at the reality on the back. Phrases like all natural, heart healthy, or high protein are often used to mask the fact that a product is group 4. Your first line of defense is the kitchen test. When you pick up a product, read the ingredient list. Ask yourself, do I have these ingredients in my pantry? If you see carboxymethylcellulose, titanium dioxide, or potassium sorbate, the answer is no. These are industrial tools used to replace the quality of a real food with the shelf life of plastic. By simply choosing products with ingredients you recognize like flour, water, and yeast, you are moving from a group 4 industrial loaf to a group 3 processed food. That single jump reduces your inflammatory load significantly. I am not a fan of restrictive dieting. Restrictive diets fail because they don't account for human psychology. Instead, I want to propose the 80-20 reset. In 2026, the data shows that you don't need to be perfect to see massive health gains. If you can move your diet to 80% group 1 and group 3 foods, the whole and the traditionally processed, your body can handle the other 20%. This allows for the occasional plant-based burger, the social dinner, or the convenience snack without triggering that permanent state of endotoxemia we discussed earlier. Start with your breakfast. This is the anchor meal. Most industrial breakfast cereals and instant oats are group 4 disasters that spike your insulin before your day even begins. Switch to eggs, including plant-based eggs, yogurts, including plant-based yogurts, or steel-cut oats that instantly removes a massive chunk of your ultra-processed load from your system. When you win the morning, you stabilize your dopamine for the rest of the day. Finally, we have to realize our bodies need help cleaning up from years of an industrial diet. The best companion to the whole food diet is metabolic stability. In 2026, we are seeing incredible results from time-restricted feeding by simply giving your gut a 12 to 14-hour break from digestion. For example, eating between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., you allow your gut lining to repair itself. This downtime is when your body focuses on cellular cleanup, a process called autophagy. Pair this with high-quality hydration, like we discussed in our water series, and you are giving your kidneys and liver the tools they need to flush out the industrial residues. You aren't just losing weight, you are restoring your biological integrity. We are living through a pivotal point in human history. We can continue to let industrial engineering dictate our health, or we can return to the original code that sustained our ancestors for 6,000 years. It starts with your next grocery trip. It starts with the kitchen test. It starts with choosing the whole over the formulated. Thank you for staying with me to the end. This is the truth about health.